Hey everybody, welcome to the Hunt Lift Eat podcast and the Hunt Lift Eat official. I've got my co-host here, April, and I'm Kerri. I'm hosting for the first time, so hopefully we don't screw this up. April, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And we've got an awesome guest on here. I met her at the Illinois Deer Classic. She kills big things. She does a lot of cool stuff in the outdoor industry. Welcome, Emily.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Emily, talk to us a little bit. So I met you. You were working at the Novix booth. You're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And we kind of talked briefly about your introduction into hunting. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the outdoors.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, so I'll make it short. But when my dad actually was a big game guide for like 36 years in Idaho for elk and bear and everything in between. So it was kind of came natural to me to hunt because that's pretty much all he ever did. He was a big hunter back here too for whitetails and turkeys and everything in between there as well. So I kind of got started at a really young age, just with him since, I was always surrounded by hunting and stuff all the time. My grandfather, he was always a big whitetail hunter and stuff like that. So really, I went on my first deer hunt when I was 12 with Dad, which was kind of rare because Dad was usually never here from August through November. So, if I wanted to hunt, I usually, when I was little, never really got the opportunity because he was never here to take me. So I always went with Grandpa, when gun season rolled around and had a little experience there. But once I went on that first hunt when I was 12, I killed my first buck with Dad and everything. Once he got back from out west in November, it was a youth gun season. After that, I kind of realized that gun hunting just really wasn't for me. I just wasn't a big fan of gun hunting. Like I wanted to bow hunt because I wanted to be able to hunt a lot sooner than the end of November each year. So at age 13, I took it upon myself to start to learn how to shoot a compound. And I worked all summer with my dad to get enough money to buy my first compound, which was a Matthews Switchback XT. And I killed my first deer with a bow, I believe when I was 13 or 14 there. And it's just been an addiction ever since. And it has evolved into, where we are today. So
That is awesome. That's awesome. 13 years old, first buck with a bow. I was like 36.
Well, I didn't get the first buck with the bow until a few years later, but at least I got a kill underneath my belt, 13, 14 with the bow. So I was super excited about that. And I was by myself too. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, okay. My first deer ever with a bow, I was late 30s.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome. So, you got addicted, you got hooked into it. And it took you pretty far. Like you started writing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really, it started in, when it wasn't until 2015 when I actually got a lot more time to hunt, because as we all know, to be really successful in hunting, you really have to have the time and put in the time for it. So 2015, I was already out of college. I got my job and stuff like that. I accrued a lot of vacations. So I was able to take a lot of time off to hunt. And I got my first really good size buck kill underneath my belt with the bow. And then from there on, it just really became more and more of an addiction. And then, I started getting into photography. I self-taught myself everything that I know with photography. And I started kind of doing all that. And then the photography really evolved into, getting into the industry. Next thing you know, I'm writing. I've always enjoyed writing. So then, I started doing some articles for some different magazines and photography, and it just, kind of opened up the door from there. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I was looking at your was it just a couple months ago? You were on the cover of Bowhunter magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Your article about the ghost. Yeah, that was super cool. Man. Talk to us about the ghost, man.
Yeah, so Ghost was it was a very, very long story and a lot of history with that deer, which was all in that article there with Bowhunter magazine. But he was one of my most iconic deer that I killed just because I had so many years of history with him in sheds, so many photography encounters, photographing him in velvet, photographing him from the stand when I was already tagged out and passing him up, and, hunting him strictly for 3 years straight, and it taking me 3 years to finally connect with that deer. And there was just so many hiccups along the way. He was shot by a neighbor and he survived and all those different things. So being able to finally close the story on that deer, which was the oldest buck I had ever killed. He come back, his tooth aged at 8.5, which is actually how old I thought he was. So he was a very, very iconic deer, and a big accomplishment for me to be able to get that deer finally, just because he was so old and he had challenged me for so many years.
That is awesome. You're doing a lot of the wildlife management, what is it called, land management, stuff like that for this deer. So you've probably been watching this guy even prior to the 3 years, right? Or had you seen him prior to that?
Yep. So, I try, the key word is try, to do a lot of land management and wildlife management. Unfortunately, here it's very, very difficult to do that because most of the properties I hunt are just permission properties. So I can't really do a lot of land management. The acreages are very small, which is something I think most people think that I probably hunt, big farm grounds and have all these acreages and managed grounds and lands and low pressure. And it's the complete opposite. It's just, there's so much pressure and the acreages are so small. So there's a lot of properties, especially the one that I killed Ghost on, there was no management taking place at all. There was other hunters that hunted around it and on it during gun season. And there really wasn't much that I could do there since I didn't own the property, but I always tried my best to, pass deer that definitely needed a pass and hope that they would make it, into the following years.
Yeah, I'm not good enough to pass on decent deer.
I try my hardest. I try to stick with it, but man, sometimes it's hard, especially when you see the next guy over ends up killing it.
Yep.
I was going to say, it's always a pleasant surprise whenever you get out there and you're like, they made it. They're still here whenever you get out there, the next year.
Yep.
And my problem is I get excited for deer and then I shoot deer. Oh, 2.5? Yeah. No, but no, that's an awesome story. It's super, super cool. Talk to you about, so you do a little bit of the land management, right? Or you don't do any at all?
I do on my own farm that I bought 4 years ago. I do a lot of land management and stuff out there, planting. We do a lot of crops and, just a lot of stuff to try to, build the habitat and better the deer. And the same with, where my house is and stuff. We don't have much acreage here, but I'm still able to put, some things into practice and some food plots and different things like that to try to help as much as I can, even though I don't have a lot of acreage to work with.
Yeah. So for those small kind of properties like that, what do you find is probably the best thing to for a food plot and stuff like that?
Really the kind of the best thing is, we like to put crops, especially, beans obviously will really hold the deer in the summer, really good for late season. Corn, if you're able to leave it standing, I mean, that makes for a super great plot because for one, the deer like to, kind of congregate and hide in that corn as well. Plus, when the food gets scarce or they clean up the acorns, then they're going to be looking for more food. So if you have standing corn, that's really good as well. But one of the food sources that I think that is best that I like to plant over everything is alfalfa. Just put in 5 acres of alfalfa on my farm here this fall. Hopefully it makes it, with our drought situation and stuff like that. It didn't come up until almost October. But alfalfa is my favorite thing just because it greens up first so that, they have, that food availability really early in the spring and it stays green really late into the fall and stuff like that. And it's got so much, high nutrition. It seems like anywhere that I've hunted where there's always been alfalfa, it's really helped the deer growth, the overall herd health. Plus it makes for some great hunting and there's usually always big bucks that comes out of alfalfa, at least with the luck that I've had here in Ohio with it. So it's my favorite thing to plant.
Nice. Yeah. So I don't know anything about any of this just because I move around so much. So I'm mostly public land. So it's awesome to hear this because eventually I'm hoping I can finally get my own land and maybe do some of that. But yeah, how did you get like started? Like how did you learn about all this? Was it from your dad when his guiding stuff, or was it a lot of like trial and error? Or?
With like the land management or just
Yeah,
hunting in general? Just the land
the
management.
land
Well,
management.
so I went to college for wildlife sciences for a
Oh,
couple
cool.
years and graduated there with that degree. So everything I learned in college, it was obviously all about, land and wildlife management. And then I worked for the Department of Natural Resources. I volunteered with them a lot, plus worked a seasonal position. So that was pretty much everything that I did there for that position. Plus my family, not my dad's side of the family, but my mom's side of the family, the Shaads, they run the Shaads dairy farm and crop farming operation. So I always grew up around the farming because the Shaads always farm plus
Okay.
now. And, my neighbors and stuff farm. So I really learned a lot from family, from neighbors and stuff like that, and they've helped me a lot with, bringing bigger equipment in and, teaching me things. So I've kind of learned throughout the years from being an ag and from the family farms and neighboring farms, as well as going through college a little bit about a lot of that different stuff. So
That's cool. Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Um, when I was in college for a little while, I my plan was to be a game warden. Although
okay.
in Mexico, when you're only 5'2", that's not really like a realistic aspiration. But my wildlife management classes in college were by far my favorite because
Oh yeah.
they were interesting and you could actually apply them to things like to real life things as opposed to, some of the shit that they just force you to take.
Oh yeah, some of the stuff was like terrible. It had nothing to do with anything. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the wildlife classes, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I learned there, like I'm still using today and I reference a lot of them textbooks for different things and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So it's really come in handy.
Yeah, for sure.
I took one conservation class. I didn't finish college. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, that one conservation class was pretty awesome. But I didn't do anything with like big game, like hunting type stuff. I actually did mine on the red cockaded woodpecker is what I was focusing on because I was living in North Carolina at the time. There's a huge like
Mhm.
push to kind of repopulate that bird. But so similar type stuff, you're still doing that kind of land management with the animals and all. It was just super cool. But that was my one and only class that had anything to do with this, and it didn't help me with hunting.
Funny. So, I'll jump in here. Um, just kind of, tell me about some of the challenges that you have as a woman in the hunting industry. Um, I think a lot of most women can chime in on all sorts of different challenges, but I mean, you seem to have been like, you've been hunting for a long time. I don't know how old you are, but from 12 or 13, even still, that's a pretty big head start compared to a lot of women who get started way later in life, when they're, like in an adult relationship or, something like that. So, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced just overall?
I Yeah, there's a lot of challenges, like you said, and each woman probably has, their different challenges. I feel like the biggest challenge for me, especially getting involved in the hunting industry, is to be different or to stand out or to not, because I feel like women a lot of times get a bad reputation in the hunting industry because there are a lot of fakes. There are a lot of women who try to get into it for the wrong reasons, or women that don't really, hunt, different things like that. And then that gets a bad picture for a lot of people, especially men, companies and other women and stuff like that. So I think that was the hardest challenge for me, was just to show people that, I really like hunting is a way of life for me, and land management stuff, like I work really hard at it, and everything that I do is usually self-taught or self-done. So I think that was the biggest thing, is just for people to realize that I'm like a genuine, like a real person doing it for the right reasons, or trying to get involved in with it for the right reasons, doing it for the right reasons. and sticking true to myself and not trying to go down the wrong path with it just to get somewhere or just to get paid by somebody or in a part with a company or somebody. Like that type of stuff doesn't matter to me at all. I'm just in it because I love photography. I love writing. I love teaching other people and sharing my experiences with others, and just love being out there and trying to kill big deer and manage and grow and get different experiences. So I'd say that was the biggest challenge is just to just stand out from others and for people to just realize that, hey, she's different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's so many women who are out there that, um, like I know for me, I always see, I see other women on Instagram or whatever, and I'm always like, they look so pretty. I look like a homeless, like I look like somebody found me out in the woods. Like
That's
my
usually how I
picture is
look
not
on a
pretty at all.
normal. Yeah. Yeah. When I go to the woods, I look like a ninja. Like there's no makeup. My hair's a mess. You can't even tell like what I am half the time. Like I have makeup on here today because I'm on a computer, but beyond
Yeah,
that, I definitely don't look very pretty when I'm in the woods either.
yeah. I always think,
I look
and
fantastic.
some of them, we know you put makeup on before you go hunting, Kerri. Um, but yeah, I just always think, when I see women who are out there, just I just always wonder. I'm like, what is your process? Like, you have these like amazing pictures, and you have, you obviously know what you're doing. I just always think like you must get up really early in the morning to get out there to look that good doing what you do. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times when I have to do photography and stuff like that, obviously some of that stuff, it's hard to do a lot of, real, not like really real life, but in the moment photography for me because I do self photography. So, I don't have a photographer following me around. So it makes it really difficult. So I have to spend a lot of extra time on the side trying to, do content and do photography, especially with self photography, which I have done all my own self photography, and it's really hard. And sometimes it's not very enjoyable to do it because it's more work than it is fun because you have to spend this whole extra amount of time set aside to try to do the shots and the photography. And you'd rather be having those shots in the moments, but you can't really do that because you're doing it, on your own. So that's been like a really huge challenge for me, doing all of my own photography for everything that I do. So it makes it really hard.
And that's got to be
yeah,
a lot of pressure too, like having to film content because you're doing. I mean, you work for multiple companies, was what it looks like, anyways. So you're
Yeah.
filming content for all these guys. It's got to be a lot of pressure to get out there and do a lot of really
Yeah.
cool stuff. But then
Yeah.
again, it's a lot of
It's
work on top of
very, yeah, it's very, very hard. And a lot of people I don't think realize how much time and really the amount of work that it takes because for all the different companies and stuff, I'm having to set aside, I'm working a job every day as well, plus I'm trying to hunt because hunting is what's most important to me. Like I would rather go out and hunt and be able to get that big deer that I'm after and worry about photography later. But a lot of people, they want that photography now. So it's really hard balance to do all that because a lot of people have people that can photograph them and go with them and do the content while they're doing their thing. And I don't. So it makes it extra hard because there's very, very limited time to be able to spend, all my time concentrating on the hunt, trying to do the photography, trying to work, every day of the week and everything in between. So it's a lot of work.
it. Sounds
No
like it.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I know that like even just whenever you're out hunting and you want to get like some good pictures, whether it's, for the website or for whatever, just trying to get good stuff for that. And when you're like in the moment and you're actually hunting it, you're not thinking about, oh, this would make such a great picture. Or and when
Yeah.
you're out there by yourself, or even if you're with somebody else, you don't want to be like, take a picture of me.
I know, yeah, it makes it really hard. And when I'm focused on, trying to target one particular deer, I'm not messing that up by trying to do content or videos or photos. That can come later because my full focus is on this deer and nothing else. So normally, like when people see me like go ghosted on Instagram for a while, it's usually because I'm in like hunting mode and nothing else matters. And I'll come back whenever I get that deer. It's like,
Right.
I can only do one thing at a time. So
Yeah, I had a couple of different companies after my last elk hunt that were like, "Hey, send us pictures so that we can put it up on, on our website or on Instagram or whatever." And I was like, I may have gotten like two that showed your product. And I was like, "Sorry, but I was kind of busy."
yeah, I mean it's
So,
really hard, to focus on the hunt. You get so excited on the hunt. The last thing you're worried about is like, oh, I gotta get this certain shot of this product or this certain. It's like,
right.
it's so hard to do unless you purposely have somebody following you around that knows like stuff that you need, and which in a perfect world that's great, but most people don't have that option, so it makes it difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a guy on one of my, or no, two hunts last week. That was a photographer, and it is so nice. Like, not that I take great pictures, and I'm a hunting influencer or nothing like that, but I do like taking pictures, and it was just so much less pressure to have a guy
Yeah.
taking pictures for you. The only
Oh
problem was
yeah.
I couldn't get an animal on the ground. So I mean, we got a lot of cool pictures of me looking really good in a tree, but that was about it.
Hey, well, at least you got that, so that's good.
Um, so just out of curiosity, have you done a whole lot of like Western hunting, like elk, you know, like big game further this way?
So I've done really a little bit of everything. I've gone out with dad several times. I've killed a couple bear out there with my bow. I have elk hunted, with him. Probably my biggest, most in-depth elk hunting was this past season, which I didn't have the tag, but I was the photographer that time, so it gave me a good opportunity to get a lot of photos that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was the one hunting. But I usually go out there every year and do something, either it's hunting, shed hunting, something of the sort. So this coming fall, I will be able to get the elk tag. So I'll be hunting this fall out in Montana for elk. So, but
Um,
yeah, I love going out there every year. I make it a point. Just there's so much to learn out there, and you have to do it so many times to finally go through all the trial and errors to get better at it. That's for sure.
oh yeah, it's completely different. We get a lot of Eastern hunters over here, and so we have a lot of people from Pennsylvania. Um, but hearing their stories and their experiences and stuff, there's so much to learn. Our country is just so vast that
Yeah.
they're telling stories. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, I've never, I've, I've never just sat in a tree stand and hunted. I've never done that. But you bring them here and you take them out and you're hiking around and they're just like half dead behind you, and you're like, well, what did you think hunting was? So it's really cool how just how diverse hunting is, and just from like one state to the next.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
even like from here to I'm in New Mexico, but from here to Texas, you drive out there and there's blinds out in like mesquite bushes just everywhere.
Yep.
I'm like, why? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely really different from state to state, and each state has different terrain and different hunting experiences. And out west, like you said, is a whole different ball game. And for people back east like me, it costs a lot, and it's a challenge to go out west every year and spend a lot of time. But to make it well worth it, you have to spend a lot of time out there, and to be able to be successful out there, you have to put in the time and spend the money and stuff like that to finally be able to, get an elk or mule deer, antelope, or whatever you're after out there. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, tons of work. Speaking of that, so we're a hunt, lift, eat, lift part. What do you do when you're prepping for those Western hunts, or do you have like a specific program?
So I don't. I would say since I live out in the middle of nowhere and I do so much farming and so much man work on a day-to-day basis that I honestly just my day-to-day work outdoors and all the work that I have to do, it keeps me in literally in top-notch shape because I do so much walking, so much lifting, so much hauling. And I live in very, very steep hill country. So, it's just constant up and down and up and down. And most of the time when I do things, I don't take a side to side or bike. Most of the time I walk. I just, make it a point to get tons and tons of exercise, cardio exercise, and different things like that. So honestly, like for the elk hunt this past year, I didn't do anything special. I just did my normal day to day stuff, and it keeps me in such good shape that I really don't like have to do anything extra to stay in shape for out west. So it's kind of nice being able to have all that
Yeah.
to do every day.
Yeah, definitely. Take some of that time out of your day that, you can focus on doing work, hanging
Yeah.
stands, scouting, doing, prepping your land, managing all that. That's awesome.
Yep.
Me, I got to work out just so I can move in the mornings.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome though. So you're in Ohio, right?
Correct. Yep.
Do you hunt whitetails in other states too?
I don't honestly because I just spend so much time focusing on whitetails here. I usually don't have any time to go elsewhere. I would like to, but it's one of the things that time is just very limited and it's just
Yeah,
always so much work to do that, I just have a limited time to travel to extra places besides out west. If I didn't
yeah,
travel out west every year, I'd have more time, but I usually spend all my time out there. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I was just curious because we're talking about different animals or animals acting different states, and I was going to ask you your experience because I've noticed because I've done whitetail in North Carolina, Virginia, Texas. Just got back from Iowa, and you talked about like acting different, like the whitetail act different from state to state. Like just
oh yeah.
they're all whitetails, but they act totally different. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to see if you had the same experience, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they do just depending on, pressure and terrain and just,
yeah,
there's just so many different variables that can completely make them act different from,
yeah,
state to state or even, just come down the road compared to where you're at. I mean, just so many
oh yeah,
variables.
heck yeah. Well, talk to us about some of your bow hunting experiences. What's probably your most memorable bow hunting experience?
Well, I probably have to say it was when I killed Freak, since that was my my
That's a
biggest
cool
deer.
one.
So that was my 190 buck that I killed back in 2020. I'd have to say that was pretty. That would probably be my most memorable top experience. There was putting that deer down just because I had so much history with him, and all the trouble of doing the hang and hunt and about killing myself in a shagbark hickory tree, and him coming through the trees right to me, a little over an hour later, and me making a perfect shot, me being able to put hands on a once in a lifetime deer and, making that happen. That was just crazy how all that worked out. My first hunt for the deer, and I was able to capitalize on him. I have to say that was probably my most memorable experience.
Heck yeah. I think just seeing a 190 would be my most memorable.
Yeah. Yeah. If only I could have had it on film or something, that would have been epic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you need somebody to film for you so that we can just focus.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's awesome. What do you got anything planned for the rest of this season? Any big hunts coming up or anything like that? Or
No, really. The rest of the season is, I mean, it's pretty well over with since I got my buck killed here on November 1st. So I can kind of relax the rest of the season because honestly, I really didn't have, once the time changed here like a week ago, I really wasn't going to have any more time to hunt with the work schedule and everything. So,
oh yeah.
I managed to get him on the ground. So now I can kind of just chill and, hopefully keep some other deer alive and stuff like that for the rest of the season and just, wait to pick up some sheds. So
Yeah. No doe management or nothing like that.
I will after rut try to get a couple of does on the ground just because we have so
Yeah.
many. I know the farmer down the road, he's wanting me to get some does, so I'll do that. But yeah, we'll wait till kind of rut's over and things get settled back down a little bit, and then I'll go out in the woods and see if I can kill a couple does. So
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, you talked about work a few times. We talked about Novix. So you work for Novix, correct? Or you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you work for Novix tree stands, and you also do stuff for Onyx. So we're brand partner, or there are our brand partners, right? So Hunt, Lift, Eat, Novix, and Onyx are all partnered together. So we got to do a little partner highlight. You want to talk to us a little bit about that and what you're doing for them?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously with Novix, I'm technically community manager, so I run like all the customer service, deal with all the partners, ambassadors, and a lot of the social media stuff and photography and different things like that. So it's kind of my role there at Novix, do a lot of the shows and things like that. And then with Onyx, really, I produce a lot of photography and stuff for those guys. Or their Onyx is just, they've been so great to me. And I mean, I couldn't live without Onyx, especially out west. I mean, there's no way to function without it. So, absolutely love Onyx, and they treat me great. And, I try to get them as much photography and stuff as I can from all the experiences. So yeah, we all have such a really good relationship. So
That's awesome. Are you using Onyx a lot too when you're dealing with your properties back home, or?
oh yeah, definitely. Especially, on the farm, marking out acreages and, setting up some new, food plot fields and stuff, trying to get that figured out and marking stuff on the maps and different things. So it seems like it just, no matter what I do, Onyx always comes in handy, especially shed hunting and, looking for south facing slopes and, bedding areas and different things like that. So I feel like I use it daily almost.
Yeah, I might need you to give me a class on how to do that.
Well, I can definitely help you out with that.
I used to think that like when Onyx first came out, and I first started using it, I used it during shed hunting season. And
Hmm.
then, then it just sort of grew. And now it's like, what did we do before Onyx? Like
Yeah,
we need
exactly. It's like I don't even know
everything
how
all
I
the time.
functioned.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Yep,
just a stroke of luck before that. That's awesome. So I'm guessing all your stands you got on your property are on Novix too, right?
definitely. Yep, I have a whole garage full of Novix.
Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the Novix stands. I mean, honestly, back when I was younger, I feel like stands were just they weighed. I felt like they weighed as much as I could, and they were such a pain in the butt. To hang, you'd have to get somebody to try to help you and stuff like that. But I mean, these Novix stands are like a game changer. They're so light. Like I just drag them anywhere, put them up to sticks, and do hanging hunts or put them up, take them down. It's just just can get them anywhere. Can hunt out of any tree. So they've really change the game for me when it comes to hunting and hanging your own stands and stuff like that. So I absolutely love the Novix stands.
Yeah, absolutely. I hunted out of Echo last year a couple of times. It was just an amazing stand, super comfortable, super
Oh
easy
yeah.
to put up. Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
I'd
Or
have
you
to
have?
say the Echo. I probably
Yeah.
hunt out of the Echo more than anything, unless I really want to be mobile or rut hunt. And then I like the Hilo just because it's just so small and just so quick to put up here and take down and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But the Echo is by far my favorite. It's luxury.
April's over there like I don't
I
know
know.
any of these
See,
stuff.
I'm like, see, now I need to come visit you because I have no idea what you're talking about. And
She's like, we
if I'm
don't
going to
sit.
get started, I might as well get started with the best, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like doing a little brand partner highlights. I love the guys over at Novix. Like I said, I met you and Trevor. I've hunted out of the Echo. It's an awesome stand. And then, of course, we're partnering with Onyx, and
Yeah.
everybody uses Onyx. So that's awesome.
Oh
And I
yeah.
see you're wearing First Lite, right?
Yep.
So you do
Yep.
stuff for First Lite. What do you do for First Lite?
So pretty much the same thing as Onyx, just do a lot of photography and, content creation and just represent the whitetail brand as a female. So I mean it's kind of a big thing because there's really, feel like I'm one of the only females that really represent the whitetail side of First Lite. So it's really an honor to be able to do that and get content and stuff like that for them. So they're super great to work with. Absolutely love their stuff. For one, because their stuff fits me because I'm so small. So and they just have such a wide variety of things. For big game, the whitetail, and early season, and late season. So I mean, it's just by far my favorite stuff to wear, the First Lite stuff. So absolutely love it.
What are some key pieces our ladies should look out for from First Lite,
Well,
especially
there's a
whitetail?
bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch of this stuff. I know a lot of the new mid season and late season system that they just come out with, and and the new men's camo, pattern, because we always just had like the fusion camo pattern. Now we have the women's line and the Spectre pattern and stuff like that. So their new line that they come out with for this year for the women's is just killer because they come out with that mid season and late season set, and it's just great.
Awesome. They got Western stuff too, April.
I
Yeah,
know. I'm
lots of
like,
awesome
I'm
stuff.
taking notes. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully.
And a new Western pattern too.
Oh,
Nice.
a new Western pattern, you said?
Yeah, they come out with that last year, and honestly, I can't even think of what it's called. I haven't gotten any of the new Western pattern stuff. I still love the fusion for out west, but the new Western pattern's pretty killer too.
It's not the ATAX pattern, is it? Or no, it's not
No,
ATAX.
no, I don't. I can't. I'm like brain fried half the time. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head because, like I said, I'm just so addicted to the fusion color that I
Yeah.
haven't even worn the new color. But it does look pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm a gear nerd, so I love looking at new gear and like, they came out with something new. What's that?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and that's one thing that, being a woman in this industry, that's definitely a challenge for sure, is finding um, women's gear and then being small and finding
yeah,
women's gear. that's
yeah,
that's another thing that's hard. I will say it does come in handy, because there's always like really small men's sizes left. When everything else is sold out, the really small men's sizes are left, so you can usually snag some of those. But as
yeah.
far as having like women's specific gear and stuff, that's always hard to find. Um,
Yeah,
companies they are getting better, but
oh yeah, definitely. I feel like that was the biggest challenge. Which when I first started bow hunting and everything, I feel like there just wasn't women that even hunted. Like there wasn't women's bows, there wasn't any women's hunting clothes at all. I remember I either had to wear, which because I was so small, I was able to wear youth gear for half of my hunting career, but or either you'd have to wear, like you said, the men's leftover small stuff or something. I mean, there just wasn't women's stuff back in the day, and it's evolved, so far. It's come so far over the years to where now it's just like, man, I wish I would have had this stuff, back when I first started, hunting,
oh, for
because
sure.
everything I had was just terrible, you know?
Well, I have teenage girls who also hunt, and so getting them situated and getting all their stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I want to do this and I want to do that." I'm like, don't complain. Be glad that you have like this stuff. This is awesome because this was not even thought of whenever I was your age.
Oh gosh, no. If people could have seen like what I wore and the stuff that I had to use when I first started bow hunting, they would be like, oh my gosh, it looked like you were in the Stone Ages. It was terrible.
Look like your mom dressed you out of your dad's closet for your first deer hunt.
Yeah, literally, exactly. It was bad.
That's funny. Um, what what advice would you give to other women who are wanting to get into hunting or get involved in the hunting industry?
I mean, honestly, I'd say the biggest piece of advice was just, learn all that you can learn. There's so many things out there that you can learn from, and people ask questions, and don't be afraid to try stuff on your own, because honestly it makes you a much more knowledgeable and stronger person to do things on your own and have that ability and that self-confidence. So it's like, don't be afraid to challenge yourself, or don't be afraid to fail when it comes to hunting. I mean, I have failed and failed and failed and failed over and over and over again, but you learn from those, failures and, those challenges and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to try something and fail at it, or don't be afraid to reach out to, me or anybody else, within the industry, or, writers or anybody like that, and ask questions, because, we're all out here to help women. And I love, answering questions for ladies and pointing them in the right direction. So it's kind of one of the things that, just put both feet on the ground and just go head first, and don't be afraid to take a challenge and learn and ask questions, and just, try something new.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I like that. Especially, and that's one of the things that I love about Hunt Lift Eat is, we have so many people from all across the spectrum, people who have been hunting their whole lives to people who have been hunting, we're just getting started, who don't know where to start. And I mean, you can ask just about any question, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous you may think it sounds. Um, Somebody is always going to answer your question, and that is something that I think that people don't realize about other female hunters is that somewhere along the way, at some point, we were in your shoes. We knew what it felt like to be like, is this a stupid question?
Yeah.
Um, and so everybody, they're always willing to help.
Yep.
Most women who've been doing this for a long time, they're always willing to offer up any kind of advice or answer any questions, or at least point you in the right direction of somebody who can. And again, that's one of my favorite things about Hunt Lift Eat. Even just a few months ago, I think Kerri gave me a recommendation on socks.
Yeah.
Because it was like stupid hot where I was going, and I was like, okay, well, this is new. Usually I'm like bundling up and packing warm things, and now I need to know like what's going to keep me cool. So anyway, there's just always, that's what I love about this. That's what I love about other female hunters is, everybody is always willing to help each other out in some capacity. Um, like I
Yep.
said, like I don't hunt from tree stands, but I'm sure whenever I am ready to do that, somebody out there, there's somebody who can lead the way for me. So
Yep, exactly. And like you said, everybody started somewhere, and like I said, my dad was never here during the hunting times normally. August, like I said, August and November. So when I wanted to hunt, I can count on both hands how many times somebody has taken me hunting. So when I wanted to hunt, I had to figure it out. Like I had to do it. I had to go by myself and figure it out because if not, I wasn't going to be able to because he wasn't here. So it's one of
mhm.
them things where I've bow hunted for like 19 years now, and all of that has been through trial and error and failing constantly and learning from mistakes and bad shots and different things like that. So everybody starts from the ground and moves up, and it's like I said, I've done it for 19 years. I learn something every time I go out. I mean, there's never an ending to learning. Like I will never know all there is to know. So it's like, don't be afraid to try it because everybody has been in your shoes. Everybody has started somewhere at some point in time. So
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. And it goes same for the guys too, for the dudes that are listening, because I don't, I'm really new to hunting myself, and I've asked a lot of the same questions, and some of them have been dumb questions probably, but yeah, the guys in Hunt Lift Eat have been super helpful. The outdoor industry has been a lot more helpful than you would have figured. When I'm actually reaching out to people who are big industry players or whatever, like have actually been super helpful as well. So like I think in my very short bow hunting career, I've had some pretty good successes, and it's been people like Emily, people in the outdoor industry that have offered their assistance and their help and help shorten that learning curve. So I think it's amazing. So whether you're a lady looking to get in or you're a dude that's new to this too, like yeah, it doesn't hurt to reach out and start talking to people.
yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Because we're all here to help and learn together. And like I said, I mean, there's so many things I have to learn about out west hunting, and I constantly, ask a lot of my friends and people within the industry that live out west, and constantly ask, for knowledge and advice and things like that. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid to ask questions and try to learn something new because it just makes you a better hunter in the end. The more you know, and the more you do it and learn. And so, like I said, we all learn something new every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've yet to come across someone who's like the you can't sit with us type.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Everybody is usually always so nice and willing to help because I mean they know how hard it is, and you know everybody's been in the same shoes at some point in time, so everybody's usually pretty willing to help.
Oh yeah. And even if they are like a know-it-all, they're going to tell you some story about what they know, and you're going to learn something from that. Or you're going
Yeah,
to pick up on something that they didn't mean to say, and you're like, noted.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Like all of this has been a super awesome conversation, but like, man, so I know your dad was a guide and he was gone all the time, but like just the drive at such a young age to go hunting, like what sparked that? Is there anything like that
Honestly,
you
I just, I guess I grew up in a house full of animal mounts. So it's like, you see that every day and you're like, oh, I want to have my own animal mounts, or, that's a really big buck on the wall. I want to kill a buck that big. But I just think it was the I don't know, it was a drive to prove a point to dad, I think, that, I can do it, because he always gave me crap like, "Oh, you'll never kill a deer that big," or "You'll never, do this," or "Oh, you can't shoot worth a darn," how, parents and stuff are. So I feel like it was just like a point to like constantly prove dad wrong and be like, "Oh, I can kill a bigger deer than you," or "I can do this," or "I can do that." And then, like I said, really once I got that first buck bow kill underneath my belt, it was just like a fire lit up, and it was just an addiction. And it just, the more and more bucks that I killed, the worse the addiction got. And it's just like, it's a 365 day a year, just addiction. Like it's just, I don't even know how to describe it, but it only gets worse.
so you're telling me I'm gonna get worse on my obsession and my addiction? I was like, man, I don't
I'm
even have
sure
any
you will.
animals on the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it'll calm down after I finally kill a big one. Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day. I was I was at a football game, at a high school football game, and I was sitting next to somebody, and they're like, and I know them kind of here and there, and they were like, "So, been doing any hunting lately?" And I was like, "This is literally my entire. That's like all I do. I shuffle kids back and forth, and we're like hunting something.
Yeah, yeah,
All I
exactly.
ever do." So yeah, it's hard to explain whenever that's just it consumes your whole life.
Yeah, literally. And then, when, I work for Novix and everything, it's just, every day that's what it involves around is hunting, because that's what I do now for a living, is work within
Hmm.
the hunting industry. So it really consumes me now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's awesome.
Well,
Okay.
so again, hunt, lift, eat, right? So talked about hunting, briefly talked about lifting. Talk to me about your favorite wild game recipe.
Hmm. I have to say, we usually take the back straps out of the deer, and usually butterfly them, and we put like some cream cheese and some jalapenos and all kinds of stuff in it, and close all up, and usually put it in the smoker. And it turns out great. I am not much of a cook at all. Nathan usually does all the cooking, so he's like the master chef when it comes to that stuff. So that's something that he come up with, and I'd say that's about the best way to eat like the deer back straps is, put all that in there and the jalapenos, and then smoke it, all day slow in the smoker. And I have to say that's about the best thing. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that like today.
It's really good. Now, just don't get the jalapenos too hot, because we had a very, very dry summer, and we put a lot of the jalapenos in that, and they were so hot that I couldn't even taste anything after that. It was
Uh,
it was really hot, but it was good though.
So
we just
did
had
the
two hunters leave last night. They killed they killed a bull and then two deer, two bucks, and so, but they didn't want to take any of their meat. They just wanted to come out here to, so they left their meat. So we have, and we just put away a couple bulls in the freezer. So we gave the bull away, but we've got deer. Plus we've got deer tags later on in the years.
isn't
So
that the best
I'm
though?
like, give me all the recipes, because you know
Yeah.
I always like to know what other people are doing, because you can kind of get burned out on the same things over and
Yeah.
Yeah.
over. So I'm always looking for something different.
Isn't that the
Yeah, and I
best when
just
your
I
client
love to
doesn't eat the
eat.
meat?
I'm big into to eating meat with tons of like seasonings, and I love hot stuff and jalapenos. I'm just not much of a plain meat eater. It's got to be,
Right.
really doctored up with spices and stuff like that, because like you said, you just get kind of tired of the same stuff after a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Not this guy. I eat the same things every day. Meat with salt on it and eggs. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Super simple.
You
So
know, if I
was
had to pick my last meal, it would be elk steak with a fried egg
yeah,
with green
That's
chili.
good.
just
Yeah.
one
That
fried
would
egg?
be like my last meal.
Just one fried egg? You gotta have more than that.
I guess depending on how big the steak is. Evenly distributed yolk.
Yeah. So was your cream cheese from your family dairy farm and the jalapeno from your own farm? So like everything was homegrown on that meal that you made. That's kind of cool, right?
The cream cheese wasn't, but the
Oh,
jalapenos was
bummer.
from the garden. Yeah,
You should have
yeah.
just said yes. You should have said, "Yep, came from my family's dairy farm."
I know. I should have, but I'm an honest person, so unfortunately, no,
Yeah.
it did not.
Yeah. That's cool. But yeah, like you gotta love it when your clients don't want the meat. I got about 30 pounds of bear meat in my freezer right now from my client in Alaska. Didn't want it. Like, I don't
Really?
understand. Like, how do you kill an animal and not want the meat? The shit's delicious. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it
Wild.
seems like a lot of times there's people that, they just want the trophy, but I don't want to harvest an animal without making use of all of it, because it's just such a waste. I just hate doing that. That's why I won't even shoot a doe unless I know somebody that wants the meat, or something, because I just don't like killing things and then not even wanting the meat or letting stuff go to waste. I like to put all things to use. So
Yeah,
That was one
absolutely.
thing that my mom taught me and my brothers since we were shooting BB guns in the backyard. She always told us, do not shoot anything that you're not going to eat. I mean,
yep.
that was like the rule. So it was like, I don't think we can eat that, or I don't want to eat that, so don't shoot it. Or if my
Yeah.
brothers did, I was like, I didn't see that because I don't want to eat it. And she held us to that. So yeah, it's always crazy to me how many people just don't want in the money that they spend. Um, these guys flew their own plane out here from Pennsylvania, like their own
Wow.
jet, and yeah, they just wanted to kill a couple animals and take the head and leave. We're like, okay, but I live up on a ranch, and it's about 4 miles of dirt road just to get down to the highway, and people come and just they'll dump their deer, they'll dump their elk, which they think that I don't know if they think nobody lives back there. I have no idea, but yeah, it's always crazy to me. I'm like, that is, I mean, a whole animal that should have fed somebody. Anybody, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just
Yeah,
crazy to
that's
me.
just terrible.
Waste.
I definitely don't agree with waste and stuff like that at all. And I mean, with the cost of the cost of food prices, I mean, at the grocery store, and then you don't even know where your meat is coming from or what has been put in that meat. Like, I would much rather eat a homegrown beef, a deer that I killed or an elk or something, than buy meat. We usually don't really buy any meat from the store besides
Yeah,
just maybe some chicken. And it's, we know where the chicken is coming from. It's not like, shipped in chicken or whatever, but we just don't like to buy any sort of meat from the store because it's so expensive and it's just crappy. Like, it just doesn't even
Yeah.
taste right.
right.
Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff in the grocery store, I mean, they're being force fed stuff. So, like
Mm-hmm.
the deer you kill, the cows that you pick up from a local farm or stuff like that, they're eating an animal specific diet. That's why they
Yeah.
taste better than the
Yeah.
garbage you pick up at the grocery store, because they're eating stuff that purposely gets them fatter and bigger and all that stuff so they get more out of it.
Exactly.
They don't taste near as good.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I
Yeah.
so I help out occasionally at my local processor, and we just donated 1,000 pounds of ground venison burger to the Red Cross for like the Hunters for the Hungry thing. And for one, I'm like, that's awesome, super nice. But I'm like, dude, how many hunters went out there and smoked something and don't want? I'm like, just boggles my mind. Now, if I got 4 tags and I'm the only one eating the meat, I get it. I'm only going to be able to eat maybe 2 deer a year. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'll donate some, but I'm like, God, that is a lot of meat you guys just gave away. At least they
I
didn't
know.
just dump it though, you know?
Yeah, 100%. At least, they did donate. That's the worst is when you go around and you'll just see a whole dump deer, over the hill
Hmm.
somewhere. And it's just like, I just couldn't like imagine just wasting an animal like that. Like, for one, it's just not even like respectful to the animal either. But it's just, there's people out there in need of meat. I mean, if you don't want it, give it to somebody who, you
Yeah.
know, can use it, especially somebody that can't afford to go to the store and buy meat. There's always a different option than just dumping it over the hill.
Yeah, I mean, because I do a lot of public land. I've walked in more than I care to and seen a deer where the head was cut off and the rest was left.
Yeah,
You know?
this is terrible. I just don't like to
Yeah.
see that type of stuff. And I mean, even turkey, I know people think I'm so weird, but like, I don't know what I'm going to do because when I turkey hunt, I don't like to let any part of the bird go to waste. So every gobbler that I kill, I have the tail fan and beard and spurs and everything all mounted. So I have this whole room here is a turkey room and it's completely wall to wall with turkey fans and full body mounted turkeys because I won't waste anything on a turkey. Like I'm not going to kill it unless I mount something of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of room. I guess, I don't know, quit
I
turkey hunting or give it to somebody else who will do something with it. I don't know.
see, I don't have that problem because I've turkey hunted for 4 or 5 years now, and I've killed this many.
Well, I tell you what, turkey hunting is very, very difficult. Trust me.
Oh, I'm well
It's
aware.
yeah, it took me many years to finally get a gobbler underneath my belt by myself. And then trying to kill one with a bow is even harder. It took me like my whole life to finally kill one with a bow. And I finally did it. And I haven't taken the bow since. I was like, that was just too much.
My
I've
last
seen.
turkey from the spring, we're hoping, fingers crossed for fall now. Um, from the spring, I shot just above it and, it ran off and I couldn't tell. I was like, did I even like hit any part of it? And, whatever. Later on, we're, on the ranch, we're feeding the cows and stuff. And I look over and this turkey goes by like through the brush and you could see like he's all fanned out and he's got like a piece missing on the top of his fan. I was like, hello, sir. Meet again.
We meet again.
No, I just can't seem to find them. I was in Iowa last week, and every time I got in the stand, there's like anywhere between 6 and 10, all Jakes or Toms, just surrounding my stand, and I'm like, where are you guys in the spring?
Yeah. Well, the turkey population, I think clear across the country, especially here, is like deplenishing bad,
Yeah,
between, possums, raccoons, and predators and things eating the eggs and bobcats and stuff like that. I mean, most of the time we don't even see poults from year to year, which isn't good. So, I mean, we're not getting the population replenished, but it's been very so bad here. They've reduced the bag limit to just one, bearded bird for the spring season and stuff, and no bearded birds at all in the fall, no gobblers. Well, I think you can't remember if you can in the fall or if it's just a hen. I can't remember, but it's like it's very, very hard to find birds and hear birds and stuff here anymore. And there's some years that I mean we don't even hunt period in certain areas just because we just don't want to even kill a bird because we just want to get more birds because it's
yeah,
just and I think it's all across the country the population is going downhill. It's really
yeah.
sad.
I've heard the same thing here. I mean, I'm in Kentucky, so I'm not super far from you, but I've heard the same thing here that the bird numbers are down. I know North Carolina they were down when I used to live there. They're definitely not down in Iowa.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Which
out
it
there.
could be maybe because there's a lot more farm ground, maybe
Maybe.
there. I don't know. Maybe they could kind of stay away from predators a little better and more like open territory. Like I said, down here is just like steep hill country and a lot of thick brush and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they just get, targeted a lot easier down in here or what the issue is, but
I don't know. Or it could have just been, you know, when I see zero turkeys all year to I have 6 to 10, it just seems like a whole bunch to me. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. It seems like they do show up more, after season than what they do during season.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Emily, do you got anything to kind of any closing thoughts or anything you want to tell our listeners?
Um, I mean, not really, besides, kind of our advice to women and stuff like that, which I kind of said earlier. I mean, if anybody, has any questions or needs any, help or advice or anything, I'm always open to help people. I mean, that's what I love to do, is teach and help people like that. So I'm here for anybody who needs some help. So
Awesome. Where can they find you?
well, they can find me at Instagram. My username is Schaad Emily, so you can find me there, or on Facebook. Emily Schaad Konkler is my name on there. Or you can call Novix, because I run the customer service and I can help you out with anything there too. So
Awesome.
Glad we got to do this. They just kind of called me in last minute yesterday to fill in, so I'm glad we did. I'm glad we got to chat, and I'll definitely be reaching out to you, and I'm ready to hit a tree stand.
yeah, definitely, I can for sure help you out there.
Yeah, and if you ever make your way hunting to New Mexico, give me a call for sure.
Well, I may have to ask you for some advice, because that is one state that I'm wanting to learn that I've never been to when it comes to elk. So maybe you could help me out with that.
Definitely. Give me a shout.
All right. Well, Emily, it was awesome. April, thanks for jumping on. Listeners, as always, we appreciate the hell out of you. Thanks for tuning in.